So, welcome everyone to episode 3 of season 2 of We Got Your Mac. And this week, instead of having Kevin with me, I've got my friend and colleague, Michael Brown. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Victoria. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here on this new season of We Got Your Mac and looking forward to what we have coming up on the horizon.
Yeah, and this is your first full episode as a co host, which is really exciting for us. There will be many more of them to come, I'm sure. The first piece that we've got is a conversation with Tom Rice, where we're catching up with him on how his Mac deployment project is going in the retail organization. So, really looking forward to that.
And we also have a follow up with Kevin on his Vision Pro update. Looking forward to seeing what he has come up with there.
And looking forward to seeing whether anybody can tell whether he looks different in this one to the other one, because there have been some updates to the Vision Pro persona, haven't there, since we last spoke to him?
There certainly has. For all of our listeners out there, you may want to check out YouTube to check out Kevin's brand new avatar. It should be really epic. So make sure to visit that.
With that, then, I guess we can just go straight into our conversation with Tom. I'll catch you later, Michael.
See you in a bit.
Hi, Tom. Welcome back to We Got Your Mac.
Thanks for having me back, Victoria.
So, in an earlier episode, we were talking about this project that you're kicking off, right? So, and we're following you through it throughout season 2. So, you've introduced us to the customer. We talked about who they are, retail organization, USA wide. They're using mobile devices in their retail stores and then Mac in back office functions. And you and your team are working with them to get all of that up and running and working smoothly. So everybody's happy. The user experience is brilliant. The customer experience, therefore, becomes brilliant. And their employees are going to be happy and more effective. So how's it going so far?
It is going well. We're definitely making progress. The big challenge, as in any good project, was how do we get started? Where do we begin? We talked about the last time, and this was a significant mind shift from the way they typically do their IT environments, and the whole concept of deploying Macs was new to them. So question one, how do we get started? So they have all their devices typically shipped in a variety of manners. Some go right to the retail locations, some go to their back offices. So the biggest concern was, how do we get these devices set up? We're used to imaging PCs. The concept of imaging on Mac for iOS devices is not a thing. So where do we begin? So our first concern was, well, let's address management before we get to setting them up. We first need to know how they're going to be set up and how they're going to be managed. So we worked with the customer to pick a leading MDM vendor. MDM stands for Mobile Device Management. It is an Apple protocol that is designed to manage, configure, and help deploy applications to Apple devices, either iOS or Mac. So anytime you hear the phrase MDM, you'll hear many multi-vendors say they offer an MDM solution. It's simply implementing Apple's MDM protocol attached with maybe some other features and functionality to help manage devices. So we helped them pick out a leading MDM vendor's product that was able to give them all the functionality that they were looking for. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but this was deploying security configurations, deploying applications, deploying other management settings, such as locking down certain areas of the devices they didn't want to have access to, or putting them, or automatically launching their POS application, and generally pushing out configurations over the air without the intervention of IT staff. So these devices, once connected to an MDM solution, once they're connected to an internet, there's retail stores network, the company network, or perhaps even at home, depending how these devices are being used, they will reach out to the MDM solution and will say, hey, do you have any configurations for me? And the MDM solution say, I got a new app for you. I have a new security configuration for you. Here you go. So that immediately took the concern of where do these devices need to go away from the customer, because we knew we could ship them directly to the end user or to the retail location and have them set up wherever they were.
And this isn't just a one-time thing, right? If we use this over-the-air provisioning to set them up, we're also able to keep them updated and keep them managed using the same technology. So it's all seamless for them. Nobody has to take anything back to an office to get it updated, or we don't have to be sending technicians out the whole time.
Correct. This is so if they have an update to the point of sale app, which we talked about, that they want to push out, we can push out a new version of that app. It'll just replace the existing version. If they decided that, they want their screens to lock after 5 minutes as opposed to 15 minutes like they originally set up, we'll just change that configuration. And it'll get sent to the either all the devices or the devices that they have in scope. Perhaps they have different configurations for their HR department as they do some of their frontline workers based upon security concerns. So we'll target custom configurations specifically to those departments that can all be done centrally. And as you can imagine, this significantly reduces the burden upon IT staff. Since it's all done centrally, most locations may not even have an IT person on site, especially those retail locations. It's very expensive to send out contractors or to maintain a full-time employee in various locations. So having somebody or a team of people in a centralized location makes configurations easier to deploy, reduces overall costs and complexities significantly.
And it sounds like if people have different needs, we're deploying different things, because at one point everybody was going around down the route of standardized builds. So basically everybody got the same stuff, and for some people it worked really well, and for other people they had a load of stuff that they didn't need to use. But it sounds like the over-the-air provisioning, and I guess this isn't a Mac only thing, it makes it much easier to really be much more granular about giving individuals what they need on their device, so they haven't got a load of other stuff taking up real estate and getting in the way of the things that they need to use. Plus it must it reduces your licensing costs, right, if you don't have to deploy things to everybody.
100%. The users get exactly what they need to do the job they need, and the business itself doesn't have to worry about excessive amount of overhead trying to figure out, I have 11,000 employees, 10,000 plus employees, so I'm going to buy 11,000 licenses just in case. They can accurately see who's using what technology, who's using what software, and buy those licenses appropriately and deploy those licenses appropriately. The other great thing about most of these solutions is they have user portals where users can go in and select their own applications that may not have originally been deployed, but that they find out due to their job role that they now need. For example, if you have someone switching departments or working with another department, they may need an application that they haven't used before. So instead of having to reach out to IT and say, I need someone to come to my desk or to my store and deploy this application, they can go into these self-service portals, select the application they need, and install it on their own. And not only does that reduce the time that IT is spent physically touching these devices or even configuring solutions on the back end, but it also makes employees feel empowered. They know that anytime they can go into this portal and say, I have the ability to control my device and add things to my device as I need them to do my job.
And actually, that gives us a lot more flexibility. It makes it much easier to have employees who are cross-skilled, who you can move around the organization where you need them to be. So it sounds like it's much better for the business in many ways. I also guess if we're not putting everything on every device, it's also minimizing the impact on the network as well, because we're not shifting the same volumes of data around that we might do otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. Another key thing I'd like to point out there too is it's reducing complexities when employees come and go. You're not going to continue. We've all seen through our careers in IT that license creep, scope creep expands as you buy more licenses because you forgot to recall a device when somebody left, and you have maybe perhaps 1,000 devices out there, but only 500 employees because IT management practices, especially during COVID, right? The devices went everywhere, and through nobody's fault, it became intrinsically harder to keep track of where those devices were and how many devices were out there. But now, knowing with these MDM solutions, you can see when a device was used, what employee it was assigned to. If you know that employee left, You can recall, either lock that device, so that device itself is not being used, which also is an important security concern for many organizations, but you can also recall licenses as well. So you only buy those licenses for the exact amount of devices that you have in use. And when somebody leaves, you transfer a license from one device to another, all from your MDM solution.
Yeah, and actually, that's really important, because if a device is stolen, or if you have an employee who leaves and doesn't return, under a cloud maybe, doesn't return their device, at least you've only lost the hardware. They've immediately lost access to those systems, and you've recovered the software. And the software often has a much higher value than the hardware now. But the really important stuff is your data in your systems. So making sure that people can be cut off from that immediately if their role changes.
100%. You can, and in some organizations too, a lot of these functions can be tied to your HR systems as well and automated. So you don't have to have that person in HR make an uncomfortable phone call to somebody in IT and say, this person no longer works here, we need to cut off their access. Those HR systems can do some automated processes on the back end that go to your management systems and lock those devices based upon it, the exact moment an employee leaves. These are obviously advanced, setups and a bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about now, but it's certainly possible, and it certainly reduces the complexities going down the road for people management as well as IT management.
So for people investing in these kind of tools, actually, they are future proof. So they might not need all of that functionality right now, but their next HR system upgrade, for example, they can link those workflows together because they now know they've got the technology to be able to do that piece as well.
100%. And it's all about linking everything together, and where that starts. And one of the challenges we had with this company as well is, how do we link these devices to this MDM solution? Where do we get started? So I'm going to throw another piece of jargon at you, which is we had to get this organization set up with an ABM account, which is known as an Apple Business Manager account. So an Apple Business Manager account, for those who don't know, is the key starting point for managing Apple devices. Working with an Apple Business Manager account, you can take devices in that account and automatically have them enrolled in your mobile device management solution from the moment that they're turned on and connected to the internet. So there is no downtime between when a device is activated and when it gets managed.
So if it disappears in transit, there's no value in those devices anymore, right? For wherever they're disappearing, because they are unusable.
Correct. And for those people who have turned them on and thought that they were going to use them, and maybe they got to a certain point and said, oh, I found a device that's sitting on a doorstep I could turn on and use. Companies will realize this device has been turned on and lock it down. Devices that when they're turned on, in order for them to complete the enrollment steps, they need a valid employee's credentials to log in and use the device. For those of you who have personal devices and you ever tried to reset your device and it says, hey, you need your Apple ID and password to log in, that's a feature known as activation lock. This takes it to another level as well. This adds another level of security on top of that and says, we're also only locking it down so that you're getting, these features that we enable. And oh, by the way, if you're not supposed to be using this device, we're going to lock it in its entirety after the fact.
That's good to know. I mean, I did have on one memorable occasion as an asset manager looking at my dashboard and discovered that some of the missing devices started appearing in my database on Christmas Day as, Fred's laptop, Joe's laptop, whatever, because they had gone missing and clearly been sold and given to people as gifts. It seems that now we've entered a world where it's not going to be worth people doing that.
No, and it's very hard if somebody were to try and get a little creative and think I'm going to erase the device and I'm going to start over because I know better than this particular company. That they're going to get presented with that same screen every time.
That's great news for companies, because that kind of shrinkage can be quite a significant cost. Not just in terms of the asset loss, but in terms of the lost productivity when you've got somebody who's without a device for a period of time where you're trying to work out, is it just that the courier's delayed or has it actually vanished forever? So that sounds like there's some really useful features there. So now you know how you're starting. We know these things are going out with over-the-air provisioning. We know these guys are all going to soon be getting their new devices deployed, lovely shiny mobile devices in their retail outlets, lovely shiny laptops in the back office, and hopefully there won't be too many stumbling blocks as you go along this process.
No, I hope so as well, and we look forward to updating you along the way.
Thanks ever so much, Tom. We'll talk to you again soon.
Talk to you soon.
This episode of We Got Your Mac is brought to you by SHI Zero Touch X. When your employees need the latest devices shipped directly to their home or local workplace and ready to go with the right apps, accounts, and privileges, Zero Touch X is a game changer. Zero Touch X supports macOS, iOS, Windows, Android, and Chrome OS, helping support employee choice programs, improving user productivity, and reducing the overhead on your internal IT teams. Give your device lifecycle the X factor. Check the show notes or search SHI Zero Touch X today.
Welcome back. My name is Scott Smith. I'm joined by Victoria to speak to a very special guest who, if you've spent any time with us here in the past, you know as one of the original co-hosts of We Got Your Mac, Mr. Kevin English, who's going to give us an update on sort of his exploration of the enterprise use cases for Apple Vision Pro.
Obviously, last time we talked about Vision Pro, you and Adam did the unboxing video, and then we had a conversation with Adam, and you've seen that. It completely blew my mind.
Yeah, it was fun.
Talking to him about really getting my head around the potential of the spatial internet. It's useful rather than just fun.
Yeah.
So really, what's the enterprise application of it? Because we've heard some great things from people about the experience of watching movies. We heard from Rachel about how it's really handy when she's folding the laundry because she can fold the laundry and do something else at the same time. Adam did talk about how it made his workspace much more accessible to him. But beyond that, are there specific things? I guess they're investigating at this stage, right? They're not actually doing mass deployments.
No, it's just starting out, right? So yeah, we were authorized on June 28th. I think we've sold a handful of devices. Most customers are testing, seeing what the pricing looks like from us and thinking about the art of possible. I think one of the immediate use cases is the infinite canvas of your desktop, being able to blow your screen up to 100 inches right in front of you, and then walk around your office and interact with other 3D objects. I think has really blown my expectations of a head-mounted display out of the water. Like Meta Quest can do that. But to your point, it's more suited for the gaming experiences. It's not exactly the place where you want to be working in an Excel document.
So this might be the answer to all of my trauma over my pivot tables that I have
can't
every
tell
month.
you that. I think you need AI for that. I don't think Vision Pro. But it's like when you're in your pivot table and you're doing your analysis, you're having fun. Because you're seeing it in 4K on both sides. You have maybe iTunes open on the left and you're listening to your favorite jam while you're in Excel. It just changes. It doesn't feel like work, even when you're working.
I'm guessing also, as you said, you can blow it up. So that means I'm not trying to fit so much stuff on the screen that I'm looking at kind of 6-point text to try and make sure I've got everything I need in that space. Because I find things kind of overflow my screens on a regular basis.
It's true. And then simple gestures like this will allow you to make that change and immediately blow up your website or the application or the text. You're not even using a keyboard or a mouse in a lot of cases. You're just using these new gestures that, just make it easier for you to interact with content in a 3D perspective.
So it seems like a lot of, and I think rightly so, a lot of the updates and improvements that they've been making, A, are kind of incremental, and B, are really kind of focused on consumers.
The updates that you'll find from Apple generally are targeted to you, the individual, because as a consumer, you go to work, and at work, you'll start to get used to using those same features and functionalities that you do in your consumer life, like you did on your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, in a work environment. And so I do see mind-blowing type of updates. Yes, it looks like it's for the consumer, but you'll have to remember that every consumer at some point in time goes to work. And so I think Apple has done a really good job about focusing on the individual and then allowing the enterprise to sort of manage it in a way that enables people to work the way they want to in their home life. But I think that's a very astute question about, how the updates seem to be, more consumer friendly than enterprise.
Yeah, I think it's something that has come up in other conversations, but it seems to be sort of one of the differentiators, that Apple is very much still focused on that individual, which maybe is one of those things that makes businesses feel that this is still these are still consumer products. That's where their focus is. But as you say, it's individuals who go to work. We are thinking more about that employee experience, because happy employees make for happy customers generally. So actually having technology that's focused on your employees as individuals rather than as an amorphous mass is something that makes sense, particularly with Gen Z coming up the ranks, who are much more about the individual than community in many ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. The largest sort of request we got was from a financial organization. And I said to my contacts at Apple, I didn't expect finance to be the first out leveraging this at work. And so we are starting to see folks who are consumers go to work and want to remove the amount of screens from their desktop. So he gave me the example of a day trader who's got 6 different screens up, and it's a 2D experience. Well, they're able to immerse themselves into, now the Bloomberg terminal app is ported for Apple Vision Pro. And so there's specific use cases in finance that you can remove all the displays. And I know you like your displays, Victoria. And then as individual organizations start to create their own applications, then you're really starting to see enterprises move from the sidelines, just extending their desktop, into purpose-built solutions. And so that Bloomberg app was one that I saw that was really, really cool. Most customers are far away from that. Interestingly enough, if you can develop on iOS, you can develop for Apple Vision Pro. So I think it's only a matter of time before more custom content comes out.
I'm curious, going back to the the enterprise portion of it, the MDM capabilities of it. Right now, you can enroll it in MDM, but it is account-based enrollment. And so right now you can't do automated device enrollment, so they can't be supervised. So you have a lot less control over the device itself. And I'm curious if that's a concern, if anybody's even paying attention to that yet. Yeah. Is MDM something that customers are concerned about at all? Or, how far does that go, and how much of a concern is that?
It's a really important question. I think it's paramount. I think MDM is the difference between success and failure of a new device in the enterprise. You're right in saying that it's limited today. There is a limited amount of things that you can do. Over-the-air provisioning isn't yet working. From what I understand, and I'll have to confirm with Tom Rice or Dave Groover, is that in Vision OS 2, it'll get more granularity with Jamf and some of the other MDMs. And so I think we are waiting with bated breath to see that. I don't think it's slowing down any of the deployments just yet. I think a lot of these head-mounted displays usually end up in a research group, or, don't take this the wrong way, marketing, or outside of IT, let's just say. And so there's a lot of trying and testing, that's shadow that IT doesn't know about yet. But once they start to see, and my prediction is when we get to the holiday season, all the C-level folks and above will get Apple Vision Pro for Christmas or for a birthday present and want to put it on the network. When that starts to happen in earnest, then I think MDM is going to be important. And so being able to secure, manage, deploy large numbers of these devices will come into play. Then right now I'm seeing a lot of smaller pilots.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to keep us updated as new and exciting things come up.
Yeah, the thing I'm excited about is being able to resell it and getting to understand what customers' use cases are. but then actually going out to the 3 centers, they have one in Cupertino, New York, and one in Austin, Texas, where you can go into an Apple facility and see the actual enterprise use cases of Apple Vision Pro in their facility. So I'm excited about going to do that in a month, and I'm also thankful that we have that ability to like allow some of our top customers that same invite. And so that's the thing that I'd like to share with you all now, and I'm more than happy to come back and tell you how that's all going.
That sounds exciting. Yeah, we're looking forward to having regular updates as things change. So thank you very much, Kevin, for sharing with us, and I look forward to receiving my Vision Pro in the post as soon as you're able to get it through customs.
Yeah, that should maybe I'll put it in my bag when I come over in a month or so. But no, thank you guys. I appreciate you. It's one of my passion projects. So really happy to finally be talking about Apple Vision Pro, wearing it, and being able to resell it to our big customers.
Wow, that was very impressive, wasn't it? And wasn't it great to see Kevin with his avatar? Man, it must have broke the bank regarding his wardrobe and the makeup stylist and that background. I'm telling you.
Maybe that's my business case for getting one. I could not being given a hair and makeup wardrobe budget. Maybe I can have a Vision Pro instead.
What about these incredible insights that we were able to get from him on the immersive screen experience? Imagine looking at Excel. That must be great.
Everybody thinks of these headsets and thinks of doing really cool, new, cutting edge stuff. But I heard somebody on the radio in the UK talking about it at the launch event and saying she tried all these things, but actually the thing that jumped out of her was when she was doing a bit of stuff in Excel for work. And that was the game changer for her. So I think that it sounds like we've got a lot of ideas about where the enterprise application will go. But as Kevin said, we need to get the management right.
I could only play to my own scenario. I have about 3 screens and I don't think they're enough. I still need more space. I need more room.
Start getting your business case sorted out.
And what about the success in the enterprise and depending on the development of custom applications and the integrations within the enterprise? That's going to be unique, right?
Yeah, we just don't know at the moment what that's going to be. And people don't necessarily know how they're going to use it. But then I don't think they knew how they were going to use an iPhone when they first started out. And yet we've got Tom talking about iPhones being used in retail to help people check out wherever they are in the store. And I thought it was interesting that Kevin called out the need for MDM, given that purely coincidentally, Tom was also talking about the importance of being able to manage Macs for people who are bringing them into a Windows environment. So it's kind of the same thing on a different scale. If you've got a Windows environment, you're bringing in a load of Macs, you're worried about the management more than anything else. Vision Pro, new device, even if you've got Mac, you're still worrying about how to manage it because security is so important and management is so important in organizations now to make sure we know what's happening with these devices.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we need to think about a bit more generally because we've moved down this route of, we tend to give everybody the same thing within the organization. And what we're starting to see and why there's more interest, I think, in Mac in the enterprise generally at the moment is people saying, well, actually, I need something different to do my job. And we're starting to be more considered about giving people the right equipment for their role, thinking about their needs as individuals doing different jobs. But that brings with it those concerns about, can I still control it if it's not all absolutely the same? That's all a valid concern, very definitely.
Absolutely.
I guess that's it for this week. We've had an exciting time. Don't forget, as Michael said, go check out Kevin and his persona on YouTube to find the link to that and to other resources and previous episodes of We Got Your Mac. You can visit wegotyourmac.com. We look forward to joining you again for another episode soon.
See you later.